Okay, so our last lesson we looked at the livestock industry. We looked at our introduction, completed our graphic organizer and our notes, just getting a real brief, broad view of the livestock industry. Before we can go any further, we need to look at proper terminology. What do we call livestock? What do we refer to these individual livestock species, whether it's the male, the female, the baby, the meat? These are important terms that you need to know. Everybody should have the chart that I have passed out to you that looks like this. It's got livestock names written up at the top. We are going to look at these different species: cattle, swine, sheep, and goats. Cattle, that's referring to cows, and swine would be referring to pigs. Now on the left-hand column, these are all of the different types or different ones that we're going to be looking at for each species. We have the male, we have a castrated male, and a castrated male is going to be the male animal that no longer has its reproductive organs. Then we have a female that has not reproduced, so a young female. Then we have the female that has reproduced, so this female has had babies, it's a mature female. Then we have the young or the baby for each species, and then we are also going to look at what the technical term for the meat is for each of these species. So make sure that you have this guided notes sheet out, and you're just going to fill in this chart as we go through the PowerPoint. Okay, so looking at livestock animal terminology, we're going to start with cattle. This is probably the one that you guys are most familiar with. And these are the answers for your cattle. So just go through your guided notes and fill in these answers. The male cow is called a bull. It's one that you're probably familiar with. Maybe you didn't know exactly what a bull was. Maybe you just thought it was all cows, but that's going to be a male, a mature male cow, so fully intact, still has its reproductive organs. Then we have our castrated male. Our castrated male is a steer. And these males are going to be, their primary purpose is going to be for market. Okay, so the reproductive organs have been removed, so we will not be using this animal for reproductive purposes, but for market purposes. Our female that has not reproduced is a heifer. Now you might be familiar with this word. A lot of times people use it as an insult, but in this class we will use it as correct terminology for a female cow that has not reproduced or had babies. So looking at a young female. Our female that has reproduced is actually a cow. So we usually refer to all of the animals within the cattle species as a cow, but technically the only one that is officially a cow, or technically a cow, are the females that have reproduced and had babies. The young of the cattle species is a calf. You probably knew that one. And then the easy one, the meat from cattle, is beef. So make sure that you go through and have all of these written correctly. Make sure you have them spelled correctly. You will be taking a quiz over this information, so make sure that you have everything correct on your paper. Okay, let's move into swine or pigs. Same thing, go down that column under swine and fill in everything. Our mature male, fully intact, has all of its reproductive organs, is a boar, B-O-A-R. A castrated male, so a male that does not have its reproductive organs and its main purpose will be to prepare for market, that is a barrow. A female that has not reproduced is a gilt. A female that has reproduced or had babies is a sow. You can remember it because it rhymes with cow, so hopefully that might be a little tip or trick for you as you are remembering these terms for your quiz. The young is a piglet, and the meat is pork. So I would think that between the cattle and the swine, most of these terms, these would be the terms that you'd be the most familiar with if you are familiar with livestock terminology. And again, a lot of times we just, refer to them as cows or refer to them as pigs, but we do have specific names for each of these. And so it's important that when we're in this class and we're talking about livestock in the animal industry, that we use these correct terms when we're talking about different things. Okay, next is going to be sheep. All right, our male sheep is the ram. You might have seen, Dodge Ram, their logo is, the ram. It has the horns that are, kind of curled under. That would be the ram. A good way to remember that. Our castrated male sheep, so the sheep doesn't have its reproductive parts, is a wether. And make sure you notice that correct spelling on wether, okay? It's W-E-T-H-E-R. Okay, our female that has not reproduced is a ewe lamb. And that word, E-W-E, is pronounced U, like the word U or the letter U. Our female that has reproduced, you can just drop the lamb and it becomes just a ewe. Our young, so the baby sheep, they are referred to as lambs. And our meat for our sheep is going to be a little bit different. We actually have two different terms that we're going to use. Lamb would refer to the meat of sheep younger than 1 year of age. So a young sheep is referred to as a lamb. The meat from a sheep is referred to as, a meat from a young sheep, is also referred to as lamb. Meat from sheep older than a year old, that meat is referred to as mutton. So you need to know the difference between those two, because I will ask you that on your quiz. You need to make sure that you know the difference and be able to distinguish the two. So that is all of our information on sheep. And we will move on to goats. That's going to be our last species that we look at. Our male is a buck. So some of these terms for goats you might be familiar with because they're similar to deer. So some of these terms your ears might perk up because that's what, you might be familiar with the terms for deer. But a male goat is a buck. The castrated male is also a wether. So the castrated male for sheep and goats are both wether. So that's one less that you might have to remember because it's the same for each one. Again, that's spelling W-E-T-H-E-R. A female that has not reproduced is a doeling, D-O-E-L-I-N-G. And then the female that has reproduced or has babies is just a doe. So you just drop the L-I-N-G. Now this one might be my favorite. A young goat, a baby goat, is referred to as a kid. And then the last one, the meat for goats is chevron. And I've also seen, people refer to it as mutton. Some of my students that, in their culture, they eat a lot of goat meat. They refer to it as goat meat. But that technical term, again, is going to be chevron. So those are our terms, and I know we went through it kind of quickly, but it's something that you're just going to have to read through and memorize for each one. Hopefully, like I said, some of these terms will be familiar to you. Might not be a lot for you to have to memorize. Okay, so that's the end of this PowerPoint, but I do want to show you a way that you can study at home on your own. If you'll go to my teacher webpage, okay, so this is on our middle school website. Once you go to my home page over here under classrooms, under the basic ag class, if you'll scroll down under this files and links column, I do have a link for the Livestock Terms Jeopardy. And we will use this later on in the week before we take our quiz. But if you want some extra practice to study at home, you are more than welcome to do so. So all you have to do is just open it up, click slideshow, start from beginning, and then you can go through and click the different questions. So they're divided out between cattle, swine, sheep, goats, and then that last category is lucky guess. So just kind of where some of the extras fell. And all you do is click meat from cattle. You can try to guess what it is. You click again and it'll give you the correct answer. And then you can click the home button and it'll take you back to that home screen. And then once you're done, you can click Final Jeopardy and it'll ask you that final question. So a good way to review. Make sure again that you get this graphic organizer complete based on the PowerPoint presentation that we went through. And make sure that you are studying these and learning them. Take advantage of that Jeopardy game, and we will be having a quiz over this information in just a few days.